During CitizenCon, CIG announced 3 new ships coming out of Crusader Industries, all in the Spirit lineup of ships, the C1, the A1, and the E1. Today we're going to talk about them and where they fit in the now growing landscape of ships available in Star Citizen. Today's video is brought to you by GameGlass. With GameGlass you can take control of your ship using a tablet or a phone. You can try out some of the free pre-made shards, or you can also make your own custom shards and share them with the community through the built-in marketplace. So gone are the days where you have no more rooms for all your key bindings. On top of that, GameGlass also supports other games like Elite Dangerous, so follow the link in the video description and try GameGlass for free. Use the offer code DTEA to get 5% off any purchase. So as a quick overview, the new ships is going to be like medium-sized ships, kind of like size-wise comparable to something like a Freelancer or a Cutlass series of ships. And we have the C1, which is a cargo ship, we have the A1, which is a bomber, and we have the E1, which is a VIP luxury liner limousine kind of deal. And I want to start with the C1, because I think that's the most interesting one. So the spec that we know so far, and I really should stress that these are still in concept, that means they can still change a lot before they get into the game. These are just the stats that we have right now. But as we know right now, it's going to have 48 SCU of cargo. It's going to have a rear-mounted tractor beam to help you load that cargo in through the what seems to be a relatively large ramp at the back. Then for weapons, it's going to have 2 size 3 weapons, hard-mounted weapons on the wings, and it's going to have 2 size 2 gimbaled weapons on the nose, both pilot controlled. Shields-wise, it's going to have a single size 2 shield generator. If you compare this to something like a Cutlass Black, you will see that it's very comparable in terms of shields, in terms of weapon loadout, in terms of cargo. We know that the Spirit line of the ships is going to focus a lot around speed and maneuverability, which I think is something that could be quite enticing for a lot of people. And I could definitely see this being a competitor to the very popular Drake Cutlass Black. Especially if that ramp at the back, which seems to be quite wide, is as wide as it seems, because one of the big downsides, I think, of the Cutlass Black is that the ramp itself is quite narrow in order to make room for those big engines there on the side. So it is quite narrow, it's difficult, you can get a rock in if you want to use it for rock mining, but it is a bit of a tight squeeze. You kind of have the same problem with the Freelancer. If you really want to make it comfortable, you have to go up to something like a Freelancer Max. So seeing something in this range which has some speed, some maneuverability that can more comfortably carry a rock, alternatively of course you can go with something like the Nomad, that could be interesting. As a dedicated cargo ship, I'm not so sure. Maybe it's going to work well as a multi-purpose ship, I can't really figure that out, but as a dedicated cargo ship, I don't think so. I think it's really going to lack simply because the Freelancer series of ships exist. And because of that, the C1 as a dedicated cargo ship is just not going to be able to compare. On the Freelancer, you have 4 size 3 weapons and a manned turret with more firepower, we have more shields, and it carries 66 SCU of cargo, so more cargo. And if you bump it up to the Freelancer Max, you have 120 SCU of cargo. But we of course know that the Freelancer series is not really known for their speed or maneuverability, and they're especially not known for their good view or field of view out through the front window. So there is definitely things that can be improved upon, but the Freelancer really has that, I am a cargo ship, and that's what I do. So while speed and maneuverability could make this a very interesting ship, there is something that I think is even more important, and that is quantum drives, and especially fuel tank. How far is it going to be able to go, especially when we get Pyro, where we know that distances between planets is going to be significantly bigger. Getting those long ranges out of your ship is going to be even more important in the future. So seeing how it's going to balance out with that is going to be interesting. I haven't been able to find anything in terms of total fuel capacity on it, so we'll have to wait and see with that, but interesting it is for sure. If we move over to the A1, a lot of the specs are very similar to what we get on the C1. They are pretty much like size-wise identical. On the A1 you do get a turret, manned turret, so this is not pilot controlled. All the other weapons are pilot controlled, but you do get a manned turret with some size 2 weapons on it. And instead of a big cargo hold at the back, you now have bomb racks with room for 10 size 5 bombs. If I recall correctly, the A2 has size 10 bombs and size 3 bombs. So it kind of falls in between the bigger bombs on the A2 and the smaller ones. And as CRGs described it themselves, these bombs are really intended for if you want to just destroy something a little bit and don't want to just completely wipe out everything on the surface of the planet. Bomb gameplay is not that fleshed out in the game at the moment, so I don't see the A1 being a super popular choice. I still kind of feel like bombs is a bit of a novelty. It's fun to go out and drop some bombs and things explode and see if you can hit your friends on the surface or something like that. And yeah, you can have a fun evening with it, absolutely. But I don't see it being something that's being used that much unless people have found a use case for it that I'm not aware of. Now, the one I'm most excited about is actually the E1, which is the luxury liner, or basically like a private jet kind of feel, I think. I've been trying to see what else we actually had of that size, because if we look at the luxury liners we have, of course, the 890 and the 600i, which is designed as luxury exploration type ships, but they're kind of a size category bigger, in the 890's case, maybe 2 or 3 size categories bigger than what we're dealing with here. So its closest competitor to the E1 would be something like the 400i. Which is the only real other like luxury ship, and that even has a very different feel to it. The 400i is very much an exploration ship, and I don't see the E1 necessarily being that. It's more like a Phoenix, a smaller version of the Phoenix maybe, in terms of use case. The layout is going to be slightly different. You're still going to have the turret on the E1. I believe it's only the C1 that doesn't get the turret. Maybe it's going to get it later, I'm not sure. But so far, at least, it seems that the C1 is the only one that doesn't get a turret. In the rear compartment, it's going to have 2 distant independent levels. The lower level is going to be like lockers and stuff like that, storage basically. And the upper level, it's going to have a center corridor with 3 like small pods basically on each side. So we have 6 seatings in total. The cabins here is going to be like a relatively large seat with a screen in front of each seat. And then there's like a door that can slide in, kind of close off the area so that the guests in there can have a little bit of privacy. Well, that's the layout. So basically the ship's internals is largely going to be the same. The dimensions of the 3 ships is largely going to be the same, pretty much just as we're used to from the Cutlass series of ships. Kind of follow the same design meta here, where the exterior is the same, and the front half of the ships is also going to be the same. And then the rear compartment is just being swapped out, just like we have the cargo on the Cutlass Black, and on the Cutlass Red we have the med base and so forth. But I'm actually very interested to know which of these ships you like the most. Do you think they are pointless? Do you think the C1 doesn't really fit any like gap in the ship lineups in the game? Put it in the comment section below and let's have a discussion down there. And one final thing, if you found the video useful, I would really appreciate if you go down and give the video a like. If you really liked it, you can subscribe to the channel, and if you really liked it, you can go ahead and you can also click on the join button below to support the channel. Because there's going to be lots more Star Citizen content coming in the not too distant future. Thanks a lot for watching, and also next time, I will see you guys in space.